Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, October 5th, 2020, and today I'm going to be talking about Florida. Now, Florida is a state that both campaigns have made a major play for, and both parties have in the past couple of decades. I mean, Florida has just been voting consistently almost every election year with the presidential election winner in modern political history. It's been off a couple of times. It's not as accurate as Ohio, but generally, whoever wins Florida wins the election. And there's a reason for that. Florida is on track to be the third most populous state, expecting to get 31 electoral votes in total following the 2020 census. The only other two states that are larger than that in terms of population size are Texas and California. So Florida, which is on track to be, like I said, the third most populous state, is of course going to be crucial. Now, California has always been solid for the Democrats, and up until recently, Texas has always been solid for the Republicans. Florida seemed to be that middle ground. It seemed to be a state that was very large in terms of the electoral presence, but also very divided. It always went back and forth between Republicans and Democrats, but generally we saw it lean to the right. It's also immune to wave years, so there's a reason why Florida is still close despite Biden being up 8 points on the national average. In 2018, despite the Democratic Party winning back the House of Representatives, winning a number of seats that nobody really expected them to carry, a net gain of around 40 seats, they ended up losing the Senate race in Florida and the governor's race. Yes, by 0.2% and by 0.4%, but at the end of the day, a loss is a loss. And Florida, in an environment where the Democrats won the popular vote nationwide by 8%, really should have gone to the Democrats. But that largely has to do with the failure of the Florida Democratic Party, on top of the fact that Florida is just very weird. I'll be very honest with you. Florida has been very weird for the past couple of elections. And, you know, the things that matter to Florida voters may not be what matters to a number of Americans. Now, when we look at the Florida demographics, there's a very large minority population, specifically Hispanic and Latino voters, and also the senior population. Now, if you ever hear that stereotype about seniors retiring in Florida, it's true. They make up a very significant portion of the population, and if they do end up defecting by 4%, if you watched my video from yesterday, by 4%, Joe Biden wins Florida. Right now, Biden is swinging them 42% based on the most recent NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, but all he needs is a 4-point swing, and he wins Florida. But, you know, let's say Trump is able to retain that base. Let's take a look at what impact Florida actually has on the electorate. Well, this is the electoral map from 2016. Donald Trump still can win the election without Florida. It's 29 electoral votes. He doesn't need it necessarily if he's winning a number of other states, but it's an indicator state. What I mean by that is that if Florida is going blue, a lot of surrounding states and swing states in general are going blue as well. If it's going red, it's still possible some of those other swing states are going blue. So while Florida may be, I guess, an indicator state, it's more so an indicator state for the Democratic Party, because Florida is not necessarily supposed to be some landslide victory for Biden. I mean, he's up narrowly on the average. Despite him being up 8 points nationally in Florida, Biden is only up by 3%. That's a 5-point decrease. Now, generally, Florida does mimic what we see on the national popular vote, just voting slightly to the right. But, you know, in 2016, it did swing pretty dramatically to the right. And also, now it looks like it's swinging 5 points to the right, which was not the case in 2016. But that's besides the point. Florida, indicator state. Why? Well, Florida, like I said, very large Hispanic population and senior citizen vote. That is very crucial. The senior citizen vote specifically is very crucial in the Rust Belt. Now, Donald Trump could have won the election without Florida with those three states. But now that they're back into the toss-up column or the there goes Florida column, now Donald Trump is no longer at 270. And if Florida ends up going to Biden, you can almost guarantee Arizona's gone and possibly North Carolina. But at this point, you know, Biden's lead is even larger than this. Based off polling alone, Biden takes the lead in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona. Let me check on these because I haven't seen the updated numbers. Trump plus 1.4 in Iowa, Biden plus 0.7 in Ohio, and Georgia, Biden plus 6. So you can see that Georgia and Ohio would end up going to Biden if the polls were correct today. This would be the map, 369 to 169, a 200 electoral college victory for Donald Trump. But he's expected to carry Georgia based off the 538 forecast and a number of other forecasts, the Economist, the JHK forecast, whatever you're using. Georgia goes red. Now, maybe there is like a lean toss-up model out there that shows Georgia going blue. Realistically, it's going red on the presidential level. Ohio is probably going to go red. North Carolina, it looks like Donald Trump is still the slight favorite to carry that race, and also Maine's 2nd district. Now, Joe Biden is the favorite to win in these remaining electoral votes. But let's say Donald Trump ends up carrying Wisconsin. This is the state that voted to the right of Michigan and Pennsylvania in 2016. Now, none of them were deafening margins. Donald Trump's victory in Wisconsin was 0.77% over Hillary Clinton. By no means a landslide. But it was a significant swing from 2012, but it wasn't a landslide. He doesn't have that large of a voting bloc to possibly lose and still win the election. You see, what happened with President Obama was he lost states in his reelection bid. He carried the Rust Belt. He carried Ohio. He carried Florida in this election. The map was, if we can actually get there in time, the map was 332 to 206 for Obama. 4 years prior, he had carried Indiana. He had carried North Carolina. And at that point, it was a different electoral map in terms of numbers, but he was super competitive in Montana, in Missouri. Looking at these numbers, these are still very competitive states. States that were even under 10%. We saw South Dakota, North Dakota, less than 10%, decided by that point. And then 2012 rolls around, these states solidify. Indiana flips back, North Carolina flips back. But you can see that Barack Obama in that situation had a number of votes to rely on. He could have afforded to lose, and he did afford to lose Indiana and North Carolina. Even more than that, he could have lost Florida and Iowa and Ohio and still won the election. But for Donald Trump, he needs every single state, especially this very large state of Florida. I mean, the math just doesn't make sense. There is absolutely no way Biden wins Florida and Trump wins the Rust Belt. That just isn't going to happen, not this late in the game. Maybe if the strategy was different starting in the summer, maybe if the strategy was different starting 3 years ago. I don't care. It's not going to happen. So if Florida is going blue, you can guarantee it the Rust Belt is going blue as well. It's an indicator state. On this Business Insider article, they note that the Decision Desk HQ says in their simulations, Trump, in his simulations where Trump is able to win the election, he carries Florida 90% of the time, which means only 1 in 10 chances that even Trump wins the presidency is without Florida. And Florida, which is showing Biden ahead by 3%, is not good for Donald Trump. While this is nowhere near as good as Biden's national numbers, he should be pretty happy being up 3 points nationally. Now, in 2016, the polls swung by exactly 1%. Trump was up by 0.2. He won the state by 1.2. You swing this by 1%, Biden still wins. You swing it by 2%, Biden still wins. Realistically, Biden could possibly carry Florida. I mean, he's the favorite to do so. And if we're looking at the chance of Donald Trump winning the election, like I said, looking at this, he has an 18% chance of victory in one out of those, I guess, in 10% out of those 18% already, gives Donald Trump a victory without Florida. Let's see if we can even find a scenario where Trump is able to win without Florida, where Florida goes blue. I'm sure it should be around here somewhere. I guess there really just isn't one, just because that'd be such an unlikely scenario. The voting groups typically vote the same way. And so I can't find a single situation where Biden's able to carry Florida and Trump somehow still wins the election. That just isn't going to happen. And if we take a look at Florida, it's actually expected to vote to the left of Ohio, Maine's 2nd District, North Carolina, and Arizona. So Florida goes to Biden. Let's take a look at the percent chance of winning. Biden has a 64% chance at winning in Florida. Well, let's see how that's changed over time. The popular vote has certainly narrowed up. The chance of winning was at a high point for Donald Trump when he had a 45% chance at victory here. Joe Biden's returning into the mid-60s. This is pretty strong. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat the fact that Joe Biden is winning the election. And this state matters now more than ever. And I get it. We talk about Joe Biden losing tiny amounts of support amongst Latino voters. But will that really matter? I mean, when he's doing so much better among senior voters and white voters nationwide, suburban voters, Biden is winning all of the other groups that Hillary Clinton failed to win. Hillary Clinton did not do well in terms of white voters. She did not do well even amongst women voters compared to what Biden is doing today. And whether that's more of a testament against Donald Trump as a re-election candidate or more so to Joe Biden, it doesn't matter. A vote against Trump or a vote for Biden counts the same. And it all goes to Biden, which is exactly why he's doing so well. Florida is a must-win for Trump. I can't imagine Biden winning Florida and the Rust Belt going red. That just isn't going to happen. Trump cannot afford to even lose one Rust Belt state or it drops him below 270. Can't afford to lose one of them. One out of the three he carried by less than a percentage point. And just as a recap, if we take a look at the data, Biden is up 6.8% in Wisconsin. In the state of Pennsylvania, Biden is currently up 6%. In Michigan, it gets even worse. Biden is up by 7%. It's not good for Donald Trump. There's no way you can, take this and say Donald Trump is doing well nationwide. Because what we see now is that Florida is expected to go to Biden, and it's just there's no possible scenario where Biden is able to win Florida and Trump somehow still win the election. Now, I get it. That's a 10% chance out of an already 18% chance. So let me quickly do that, just because that's a very unlikely situation. I mean, that's a, 1.8% chance that Trump wins the election without Florida? I mean, crazier things have happened, but is this really realistic? A 2% chance. Donald Trump had a 38 or 35% chance at victory in 2016 for reference. This isn't going to happen. Trump is not going to be able to win without Florida. And as long as he remains underwater in Florida, in the final 29 days of the campaign season, the same amount of electoral votes as days left in the presidential race. Florida, Florida, Florida. Voting starts soon across the country. Sooner or later, we're going to see early voting in every single state. Some states have already started. Mail-in ballots are going to get sent in. And while Donald Trump is going to have an issue with campaigning over the next 2 weeks, or possibly even just turning this around, people are already voting today. Early voting began in Maine. We saw ballots get sent in a number of other battleground states. They're starting to get sent in or are being allowed to be counted soon. So what we see across the nation is that votes are getting counted now. And what Donald Trump really needs is to turn this election around right before Election Day. But the unfortunate reality is this is not 2016. He cannot be down 3% in Florida this late into the game, because people are going to cast their ballots soon. They are going to cast them within the week or the next 2 weeks. What Donald Trump did in the final stretch of the campaign season was convince all of those people who voted in person. The mail-in ballots did favor the Democratic Party because people made up their minds before the final stretch of the campaign season, the final 2 weeks, when Donald Trump turned the election around from being down 7 points nationally to only 2%. And Donald Trump did that combined with the effect of the Comey letter, but we aren't going to see as many in-person voters. Generally, the people voting in person already favor Donald Trump. So it's also going to be a very different type of election, and Donald Trump's actually going to need to try to turn this election around in the next 2 weeks. Because sooner or later, these ballots are going to get sent in. You can't ask for your ballot back and change your vote just because Donald Trump said something nice the day before the election. That just realistically isn't going to happen. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my 2020 election predictions. I actually just uploaded one yesterday. It's the election 30 days before the election, obviously. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.